Hello, dear ones. My name is Ruth. I'm 72 years old, and I want to share with you the most heartbreaking discovery of my life. It's about how the two people I trusted most in this world, my own sons, were systematically stealing everything my late husband and I had worked for over 50 years. This story isn't easy to tell, but I believe it might help other seniors who suspect something isn't right with their family finances. Sometimes, the people closest to us are the ones we should watch most carefully. I was married to William for 48 wonderful years before he passed away 3 years ago from a sudden heart attack. We built a beautiful life together. William was a successful contractor, and we managed to acquire several properties over the decades. Nothing extravagant, mind you, but solid investments that would secure our retirement and provide for our family. We had 2 sons, David, now 45, and Michael, 42, both married to women who I thought were lovely additions to our family. David married Christina when he was 28. She seemed sweet, always complimenting my cooking and asking about my day. Michael married Jennifer at 30. She was more outgoing, always talking about their plans and dreams. After William died, I felt so lost. Our house felt enormous and empty. The boys were wonderful at first. They'd visit regularly, help with yard work, fix things around the house. "Mom, you don't need to worry about anything," David would say. "We'll take care of everything." And that's exactly what I thought they were doing, taking care of everything. I should have been more suspicious when they started suggesting I was getting forgetful. Little comments here and there. "Mom, you already told us that story." Or, "Are you sure you paid that bill? Maybe you should let us handle the finances." Slowly, I started doubting myself. Maybe I was getting old and confused. Maybe it was better to let my sons handle the business side of things. After all, they were successful in their careers. David worked in real estate, Michael in finance. They understood these things better than I did. What a fool I was. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday in October. I was looking for my birth certificate because I needed it to renew my driver's license. I knew William kept all our important documents in his filing cabinet in the basement office. I rarely went down there anymore. It was too painful, still smelled like his cologne and pipe tobacco. But I needed that document, so down I went. The filing cabinet was organized exactly as William had left it. He was meticulous about paperwork, everything labeled and in its proper place. I found the folder marked birth certificates easily enough, but as I was putting it back, I noticed something odd. There was a new folder I didn't recognize, labeled Property Transfers 2023. That was strange. We hadn't bought or sold any property recently. Curious, I opened it. Inside were documents I didn't understand at first, legal papers with lots of technical language. But as I read more carefully, my blood began to run cold. These were transfer deeds for our rental properties, the duplex on Elm Street that William bought in 1985, the small apartment building on Oak Avenue we'd purchased in 1992, the commercial property downtown that had been our proudest investment. All of them had been transferred, not to me as William's widow and rightful heir, to David and Michael. My hands started shaking as I read the dates. The Elm Street property had been transferred just 6 months after William's death. The Oak Avenue building, 8 months after. The commercial property transferred just last month. But here's what made my blood boil. My signature was on every single document, except I had never signed anything. I had never even seen these papers before. I sat in William's old chair, staring at what was clearly a forged signature. My signature, but not written by my hand. Someone had practiced it, gotten quite good at it, but it wasn't mine. Then I found the bank statements. Our joint account, which had contained nearly $150,000 when William died, now had less than $12,000. Systematic withdrawals, month after month, all authorized by me. Except I had never authorized anything. The rental income from our properties, income that should have been coming to me, was being deposited into accounts I'd never opened. Accounts with my name on them, but not my authorization. I found checkbooks for accounts I didn't know existed, credit cards in my name that I'd never applied for, loan documents showing that our properties had been mortgaged and remortgaged with the money going somewhere. As I sat there surrounded by evidence of systematic fraud, I realized something horrifying. My sons hadn't just been stealing from me. They had been erasing me. Slowly, methodically, they were taking everything William and I had built and making it disappear. But the worst part was yet to come. I found William's old recording device. He used to use it for business notes. My hands were still shaking, but I knew I needed evidence. I called David first. "Hi, Mom," he said, sounding cheerful. "How are you doing today?" "David, I need to ask you something. I was looking through some papers and I found property transfer documents. Can you explain these to me?" There was a pause, a long pause. "Mom, remember we talked about this? You signed those papers. You said you wanted to make sure the properties were protected if something happened to you." "I don't remember signing anything like that." "Mom, you've been having some memory issues lately. We were all there. Me, Michael, Christina, Jennifer. You signed them in front of all of us." I felt like I was losing my mind. Was it possible? Had I forgotten such an important thing? "What about the bank accounts, David? Where is the money from the rental properties going?" Another pause. "It's going into your accounts, Mom, the ones we set up to help organize your finances better. Don't you remember?" But something in his voice didn't sound right. I'd raised this boy for 45 years. I knew when he was lying, just like when he was 7 years old and denied breaking my favorite vase. I called Michael next, without telling him I'd spoken to David. "Michael, honey, I'm a bit confused about some financial papers. Can you help me understand what's happening with our rental properties?" "Oh, Mom, David and I have been handling all that for you. Remember how overwhelmed you were after Dad died? We didn't want you to worry about collecting rent and dealing with tenant problems." "But where is the money going?" "Into your accounts, of course. We've been managing everything to make sure you're taken care of." "Which accounts, Michael? I only see about $12,000 in the account I know about." I heard him talking to someone in the background, a woman's voice, Jennifer. Then he came back on the line. "Mom, let me come over this weekend and we'll go through everything, okay? I think you're getting confused about which accounts are which." After I hung up, I sat there feeling like I was in the middle of a nightmare. My own sons were lying to me. Worse than that, they were making me doubt my own sanity. But I wasn't crazy. I knew what I'd seen in those documents, and I was going to find out exactly what was happening to my money. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I got dressed up, put on my best shoes, and drove downtown to the bank where William and I had done business for over 30 years. I asked to speak with the manager, Mrs. Patterson, who had handled our accounts for the past decade. "Mrs. Henderson, how lovely to see you. How can I help you today?" "Mrs. Patterson, I need to understand something about my accounts. I'm seeing withdrawals and transfers that I don't remember authorizing." Her smile faded slightly. "Of course. Let me pull up your accounts. She typed on her computer for a moment, then frowned. "Mrs. Henderson, I show that your sons have power of attorney over your accounts. They've been managing your finances for, let me see, about 2 years now." "Power of attorney?" My voice came out as a whisper. "Yes, the documents were filed shortly after your husband's death. Very common in these situations. Your sons explained that you were having some difficulty managing the finances and needed help. Can you show me these documents?" Mrs. Patterson hesitated. "Well, normally I would need to verify, but you're the account holder, so..." She printed out several pages and handed them to me. There it was, a power of attorney document dated just 4 months after William's death. My signature at the bottom. Except, once again, it wasn't my signature. "Mrs. Patterson, this isn't my signature." She looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Henderson, are you suggesting..." "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you, this is not my signature. I never signed this document, and I never gave my sons power of attorney over my finances." Mrs. Patterson excused herself and came back with the bank's security officer. They asked me to write my signature several times, compared it to the document, and I could see in their faces that they knew something was wrong. "Mrs. Henderson, this is a very serious matter. If what you're saying is true, this could be fraud." "It is fraud," I said firmly, "and I want to know exactly how much money has been taken from my accounts." What they showed me next made my legs weak. Over the past 2.5 years, nearly $400,000 had been systematically transferred out. The rental income from our properties, about $4,500 a month, had been going into accounts I couldn't access. But the most devastating discovery was yet to come. The bank officer showed me loan documents. My properties had been used as collateral for loans totaling over $600,000. Money that my sons had borrowed against my real estate using my forged signature. "Where did this money go?" I asked. The officer showed me the deposit records. The loan money had gone into personal accounts belonging to David Henderson, Michael Henderson, Christina Henderson, and Jennifer Henderson. My sons and their wives had stolen nearly $1 million from me. They had taken everything William and I had worked for our entire lives, and they had done it by making everyone believe I was a confused old woman who couldn't manage her own affairs. I went home and called both my sons, told them I needed to see them immediately. Family meeting, emergency. They both arrived within an hour, their wives in tow. All 4 of them sat in my living room, the same living room where we'd celebrated birthdays, holidays, graduations, where I'd rocked their babies to sleep when my sons brought their children to visit. "I know what you've done," I said simply. David tried to look confused. "What are you talking about, Mom?" I put the bank documents on the coffee table. "I'm talking about the nearly $1 million you've stolen from me. I'm talking about the forged signatures. I'm talking about the power of attorney I never signed." The room went completely silent. Christina was the first to speak. "Ruth, you're obviously confused." "Don't." I stood up, and my voice was stronger than it had been in years. "Don't you dare tell me I'm confused. I have bank records, I have signature analyses, I have documentation of every fraudulent transaction." Michael looked panicked. "Mom, we can explain." "Explain how you practiced forging my signature? Explain how you convinced everyone I was losing my mind so you could steal my inheritance? Explain how you looked me in the eye for 2 years while you were robbing me blind?" Jennifer tried a different approach. "Ruth, we were trying to protect the assets. You weren't managing things well after William died." "Protect?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You took out $600,000 in loans against my properties. You transferred ownership of real estate worth over $1 million. You emptied my bank accounts. What exactly were you protecting? David finally dropped the act. Mom, you're 72 years old. You shouldn't be managing this much money anyway. We were making sure it stayed in the family. By stealing it? By managing it properly. Those properties needed work, needed investment. The loans were for improvements. The loans were deposited directly into your personal accounts. All of them. Every single penny went to you four. That's when Christina made her biggest mistake. She got angry. You know what, Ruth? You should be grateful. We've been taking care of you, managing your affairs, making sure you don't lose everything to some scammer or bad investment. This is what families do. Families don't forge signatures. Families don't steal. Families don't gaslight their elderly parents into thinking they're losing their minds. Now, you might be wondering, what did I do next? Did I call the police? Did I forgive them? Well, what I did surprised everyone in that room, including myself. Stay with me, because this is where the real story begins. I looked at my sons, these men I had raised, loved, sacrificed for, and I made a decision that would change everything. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You have 30 days to return every penny you've stolen. Every property transfer gets reversed. Every loan gets paid back from your own money. Every account gets returned to my control. And if we don't, David asked defiantly, then I go to the police and every local news station that will listen. Fraud against the elderly is a federal crime. You'll all go to prison. You won't do that, Jennifer said smugly. You won't send your own sons to jail. I smiled at her, the kind of smile that should have terrified her. Try me. But here's what I didn't tell them in that moment. I had already made a more permanent decision. The next morning, I drove to my lawyer's office and completely rewrote my will. Everything, every property, every account, every asset I had left went to my 4 grandchildren to be held in trust until they turned 25. David and Michael would get nothing. Christina and Jennifer would get nothing. But I added a special provision. If my sons attempted to contest the will, or if they tried to manipulate their children to give them access to the inheritance, the entire estate would go to charity. I also wrote letters to each of my grandchildren, explaining exactly what their parents had done, letters to be opened when they reached 18, so they would understand why their grandmother had made this choice. Within 3 weeks, most of my assets were returned. The properties were transferred back to my name. The loan money was repaid from their personal accounts. Apparently, they had been living quite well off my money and had plenty to return it. But the relationship was over. I made that clear. I will be civil to you in front of your children, I told my sons, but I will never trust you again. And when I die, you'll discover exactly what betraying your mother costs. If you've stayed with me through this difficult story, thank you. Sharing this wasn't easy, but I believe it's important for other seniors to know they're not alone. If this story touched you, please give it a like to help it reach other families who might be going through something similar. In the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever suspected financial abuse in your family? Do you think I was too harsh with my sons? Your thoughts and experiences matter to me and to others who might be reading. And if you would like to hear more stories about seniors who have found the strength to fight for themselves, please sign and ring this notification bell. Every morning, I share stories of courage, resilience, and the power we have to protect ourselves, no matter our age. That was 2 years ago. Today, I manage my own finances with the help of a professional financial advisor who is not related to me. I've made new friends, joined a senior investment club, and discovered I'm quite capable of handling my own affairs. Thank you very much. My grandchildren visit me regularly. They don't know the full story yet, they're still too young, but they will someday. And when they inherit what their grandfather and I built, they'll understand that it came with a hard lesson about family, trust, and the importance of protecting those we love. My sons still don't know about the will change. They assume they'll inherit everything when I'm gone. They're polite now, even kind sometimes. They think they got away with it, that their theft was just a temporary inconvenience. They have no idea what's waiting for them. Sometimes people ask me if I regret being so harsh, if I miss the relationship I used to have with my sons. The truth is, I miss the sons I thought I had. Those sons never really existed. The real David and Michael were capable of looking their elderly mother in the eye while systematically robbing her of everything she had. They were capable of making me doubt my own sanity to cover their crimes. I don't miss having criminals in my life, even if they happen to share my DNA. To anyone listening who suspects their family members might be taking advantage of them financially, trust your instincts. You are not too old to understand your own finances. You are not too confused to know when something is wrong. Get help. Talk to professionals who are not related to you. Protect yourself because no one else will. And remember, family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by love, respect, and honor. Anyone who steals from you, lies to you, or tries to convince you that you're losing your mind doesn't deserve access to your life, no matter what they call themselves. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there protect themselves and their legacy.